Thank you so much for asking. So many people don't. And then they're like, what? Yeah, so if you have lady problems, please talk to me afterwards, because I know all about them. Thank you so much, Peg. What a great organizer. So is this a good volume? Okay, so I am going to read from Meeting Faith. That's me on the cover. And so somehow, in the process of flunking out of Harvard, I ended up with my head shaved in the forest, ordaining as a Buddhist nun, God knows why. And I hadn't listened to the rules ahead of time, so there were a lot of them. And so I never meditated, I'd never been a nun. And this is from the very end of the book, because it's about treasure. So this is when I've come out of this like kind of crazy experience. And really the focus you'll see here is on, has anyone been to Thailand before? No? Really? I thought everyone went. I thought like everyone and their grandma went now. Okay, how many people know what farang is? Okay, that's foreigner. When they see you, they're like, farang, farang. And I'm not sure what that means, but you'll hear it on Star Trek as well. Farang, so it's the same thing. And then what Thais love to say is, "Mai bin lai." Does anyone know that one? It's like, whatever. It's all good, it doesn't matter. So that will come up a lot. And I don't have my glasses, so who knows what will come up. So really what I'm trying to show here at the end of the book is kind of the contrast between the sacred and the profane in Thailand. Because when you tell people that you had a spiritual experience in Thailand, they're like, oh, what about the prostitutes? So that's what I love about Thailand, that there is the sacred and the profane. So this is from the epilogue called Get Married, Buy a Car. The evening of my 23rd birthday, I'm back on the terrace of the riverside tea house where Farang and natives mingle amicably in the open air, despite the creeping tourist trade that will soon threaten the Garden of Thailand. In a trance, I gaze out at the wide Mekong. Thai folk music tinkles on the speakers, barely audible above the clink of bottles, brown liters of Singha beer, glasses of cheap Mekong whiskey. Yellow rice paper lanterns bob in the warm night breeze, their reflection shimmering across the surface of the darkening river. In addition to the Americans, the table is crowded with young Thais, university students, workers, members of our host families. Dang, Scott's perpetually drunk host brother, is telling a tale in a mixture of Thai and broken English. Thais who love a good joke roar with laughter. As the birthday girl, I'm wearing garlands of sweet waxy jasmine and a new pair of handmade leather sandals. All day I've moved as if drugged, through an afternoon spent watching pals bet at the track, through a lavish dinner banquet that will ruin me for all Thai restaurants in the United States, through the return here to the riverside, the bar of the moment. Jan, the Dutch owner, stops by our table to welcome me back to town. He tells the bartender the next round is on the house. Everyone immediately switches to the imported stuff. Scott grins. Too bad you're not drinking, Faith. I shrug and smile and stare out at the muddy swirl of the Mekong creeping north, past groves of palm trees and patchwork fields of rice towards Burma and Laos. I'm still out of sync. At midnight, someone has a brainstorm and we pile into motorcycles and scooters in 2s and 3s and head across the Mekong to Chiang Mai's nightclub strip. The club is throbbing with synthesizers and I blink, blinded by the brilliance of the neon lights and the glittery disco ball, by the Thai transvestites with their spiky gelled hairdos and heavily made-up eyes, by the prostitutes in their red sequin dresses and pink face powder. Every time the DJ spins a song I recognize from last year, I feel heat at the base of my neck and stumble, as if I'd been drinking. The club kids in their bright flowing clothes flock to Scott and Joel and me like birds swaying in circles around us. "Where did you get your hair done?" they say. "Sweetie, pretty." This is even more overwhelming. Over the past few weeks, I've gotten used to the small knots of university students, even faculty members, laughing as I pass by, in stage whispers as they wonder if I have lice, or I'm undergoing therapy, chemotherapy, or am I simply mad? Apparently, higher education allows them to transcend traditional Thai politeness. The kindlier ones advise me to wear a wig. Encircled in the embrace of New York nightclub, I close my eyes and settle into the infectious Europop. It's great to dance again. Great to be back with Scott and Joan. We're young, damn it. It's always summer in Thailand. We finally stagger back to the table to find a strange drunk has joined the party. He has the standard teak-colored skin stretched taut over cheekbones, a glossy spray of black hair, eyes and cheeks red from drink. Leaning close to the women, he peppers them with slurred questions, Thai inquisitiveness gone sour. "How do you all know how to speak Thai so well?" How do ties and frongs get to be such close friends? His drink sloshes against the side of his glass. He presses. Joan and a secretary from the department avert their heads, forming tiny, pained smiles. Seeing this, Scott leans forward. "Milena!" he commands, staring the man directly in the eyes. "Get out of here." The drunk grins and focuses on another section of the table. "Hey, rich white lady," greets Angel, breath reeking of fermented rice in waves. "Buy me a drink?" Scott and I flee to the dance floor. After 20 minutes, the music descends into Thai disco, bubblegum pop sung in off-key Thai, and the club kids stomp off the dance floor in a collective pout. The prostitutes swarm the floor, pulling their reluctant European, Japanese, Saudi, American men behind. We drag our way to the table to find it empty, completely. No friends, no birthday gifts, no purses. No drunk. Just a ring of empty glasses, as if someone had circled the table, draining each glass dry. Scott does a wide turn around the nightclub, the silver lame walls and mirrored columns fracturing him into 100 images. I scout in smaller circles, hoping to find our party relocated to a new table. Clusters of Thai glance up from their plush banquets to watch. "Her hair," I see them mouth to each other. "Look at the black frang." Across the room, Scott shakes his head and shrugs, palms up. As the rest of our party straggles back to the bare table, the truth emerges. "But I thought you stayed behind with the purses," we say to each other. "No, I wanted to get away from that guy. I thought you were gonna." "This can't be happening," Scott protests. "This is our town, our New York nightclub. Everybody knows us. Furthermore, this is my birthday, as well as my welcome home party, my first time out in the 2 weeks since leaving the temple." After a few moments of silence, someone remembers the motorbikes. Scott's host brother Dang, whose motorcycle is new, hits the door first, the rest of us in a frantic knot behind. Outside the club, the usual crew is lounging near the front steps, the club bouncer and his pals, tuk-tuk and rickshaw drivers, most of whom double as dealers or pimps, young kids toting baskets of roses and cigarettes. They watch as we sprint to the parking lot, muttering prayers and curses, Buddhist amulets in hand. We come to a collective halt. The bikes are all safe. All we need now are the keys to drive them, the women's purses, my presence. The crowd on the steps switches into palpable curiosity. Dang joins them, explaining that the farang have been ripped off. Everyone has something to say. We soon learn that the drunk staggered out of the club with an armload full of handicrafts, my gifts, and women's purses, and climbed into a tuk-tuk. "Why did they stop him?" Angel demands irritably. "Didn't it occur to him that all the purses couldn't have been his?" She certainly has a point, but the perpetually drunk Dang shrugs. "Might be lie." Never mind. The bouncer regards us sympathetically. "What's up with her?" he says, jerking his head at me. Dang explains about my ordination. "Oh." The man nods. He calls to the crowd. "Anyone over here where the drunk said he was going?" Several people name an area of town unfamiliar to us, and someone claims to know the tuk-tuk driver. "He'll be back here looking for more fares," he assures us. Maybe lie. Scott and whichever men hadn't given their wallets to a woman to carry pool the money in their wallets to pay for our tab, while the rest of us settle in to wait. Exhausted from the pace of this life, I plop down the club steps. Grinning shyly as they ask about my hair, several child vendors who remember me from before, clamber into my lap or lean against me, their narrow shoulders poking through my blouse. Soon enough, the tuk-tuk returns, and after a lively discussion between the driver, the bouncer, and Dang, there's a flurry of activity. Suddenly the bouncer revs up his motorcycle, Dang is somehow perched on the back. When did this all happen? "Call the police," Dang shouts as they speed away in a squeal of tires and cheers from the kids. "We'll meet you there." The tuk-tuk driver grins and waves us over to him in a great scoops of air. We get him back. As the tuk-tuk careens through the empty streets of Chiang Mai, he turns periodically to shoulder over his shoulder. "My belay!" I cling to the intricate grillwork of the truck's canopy and battle to keep my butt on the narrow padded bench. I hadn't planned to spend my birthday crammed into the back of a Nissan truck with a dozen tipsy friends, chasing a drunken thief across town at 2 in the morning to get my presents back. I am, after all, just getting used to the idea of talking. We arrive at a neighborhood of narrow streets and open canals. The wooden houses are boarded up tight, dark except for the nod of light under a door of two, quiet except for the occasional bark of a dog. The tuk-tuk driver decides to wait and cranks up the radio. "Culture Club. Do you really want to hurt me?" blares from the speakers. "So," the driver says, leaning out of the cab and cocking his head at me. "What's up with her?" Just then, Dang and the bouncer burst out of the house, dragging the thief between them. He's changed out of Western dress into rubber flip-flops and traditional print sarong, and though his body hangs limp, his eyes look more focused than before. Dang and the bouncer are already reliving the night's adventure, laughing and joking like old friends. The thief's wife brings up the tale, alternately praising her husband to his captors and cursing him bitterly in Northern Thai dialect. Okay.